What's up? What's up? Let's get it going. Hello, Night Moose. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is. I was just in yoga and I was hurting, man. It's like a flu. Ross, Nick. I mean, I don't. I just I've got the chills. But you know what? F it. I'll still do it. We'll wait for a few people to come in. I'm good. I had a COVID test. Um, and I take so much hot yoga. I've been told if you take hot yoga, that I mean, hot yoga basically kills anything because it's so hot. I mean, I think in the room, and I don't even go to the studio I used to go to. Um, like tonight, it was 85 degrees, and yes, that was a picture of Roderick Strong in the neck brace. Adam, AW. I know. I mean, I just think it's a basic flu. You know, it's been so cold lately when I walk back from the gym at night, it's, like, very cold, and my pores are open, so, it's just, I don't get sick much. I get sick maybe once every 2 years. Yo, 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 Spurg in the house. But when I do get sick, yeah, strap this on your sore ass, Ross. But when I do get sick, it's usually for 2 days, and I'm down for the count. Like, I should have left the class, like, I was hurting, but I was in the corner by myself, so I had to tough it out. And I took a new teacher today, and she was really hard, like, you know, just very, like, Christian Bale, American Psycho style. I really am the Samoa Joe of comedy. TikTok took down my Michael Jackson joke, so, the day started off a little bit of a bummer. But I'm really concentrating on YouTube. So at YouTube, it's like I think it's like 3,000 views or something, which is a lot for me. I think my Instagram reels, couple hundred views or likes or whatever. So that's pretty good. I don't think TikTok's the best avenue for me to promote my stand up. I've been banned a few times, to be honest with you. Um, and I still don't, the problem with TikTok is they tell you why you got banned. Um, yeah, I don't know about that, Greg. We'll have to see if our stories match up because I know the behavior patterns at those things. Um, well, no, I mean, I did say the F word in the joke, and my friend, the great Bruce Gray, he beeped it out, but he's so good at editing, you can basically hear the word. So I get it. I mean, that's the crazy thing about humor is he was a pedophile, and I'm the guy getting punished. Like, it's crazy. And I have no proof he was a pedophile, but come on. What grown man in his 30s is hanging out with kids in their underwear? I don't care if he could moonwalk or not. I mean, that's Jerry Sandusky's biggest problem. If Jerry Sandusky could sing or dance, he'd be out. Uh, show us your Patrick Bateman business card. Uh, I don't have one. Although I did want to hello, Ross. I did want to do a sketch where instead of business cards, like 5 or 6 guys are showing their dick pics, but I don't even know what platform you could get that on, to be honest with you. Maybe YouTube. I mean, YouTube seems to be the best platform in terms of trying to sneak risky material in. I mean, if you look at Ari Shafir's videos from back in the day, some of them were pretty racial in the humor that they used. They're still up. So, I think TikTok seems to be more. Yeah, I'm not gonna go on Rumble. I'm concentrating right now on Instagram Reels and YouTube, the Matt Rife method, and then when I can afford, and I'm not broke, but I'm saying when I can afford to pay someone that I trust, I'll have them, put shit on, like, Rumble, Patreon. My Patreon's a little weak, to be honest. I tried to put a video up. I tried to put the 45-minute setup the other day on Patreon. I think it's too long. I don't know if Patreon has a limit on, what the length of the video. I didn't think they did, but, is it hard to find Joe? I mean, I don't like listening to comedy, to be honest with you. Someone asked me the other day if I thought Tony Hinchcliffe was funny, and Tony and I used to be really good friends. Now we're more acquaintances, we don't talk a lot, and I answered, "I don't know. I literally have never watched a set of his, and I've known him for 15 years, and he's never watched a set of mine." Um, so, I don't, because I don't wanna steal someone's idea, or um, if I hear an idea, "Oh, yeah, let me talk about that." I wanna talk about shit that, on the surface, nobody talks about. Now, I know a lot of comics do, Michael Jackson jokes, innovative, but, oh, thank you, Mr. Bahama. I don't think they do the podcast. Well, I mean, I know Tony is very successful. I mean, it's on the Netflix, special out here, or the, festival. It's why Roast Battle has never really taken a dip in popularity, because people like to see that shit. And the funny thing about, because I'm obviously more familiar with Roast Battle, the worse the battle is, the better it is for the show, because then the judges can say shit, and if they have anyone at the haters table, which was my creation that never got paid for it on season 3, when Jeff lied to me, but, that's another podcast. Um, oh, I will. Thank you, Nick. Um, I mean, I wish well, the second one, which I believe is, I mean, my biggest streams were on Friday and Sunday night. Sunday night for sure. I think last Sunday I had 40, which, listen, I better get an energy drink. Hold on. But I've only really been streaming for 6 weeks. So I I'm happy with the results. I mean, I think about 6 weeks ago I had maybe 1,500 followers, and in that 6 weeks I now have close to 2,500. So that's pretty good, to I don't know what that percentage is, but that's like a 40-50% increase. So I think when I am doing this for a few months, I could see, like, by summer having 10,000 subs. Um, hey, I mean, it's all Ambrose. It's consistency. I mean, I've been really brushing up on times when to do it, and it's crazy. It's like asking someone if I'm funny. But let's pick a bigger comic. If you ask someone on Twitter, "Is Matt Rife funny?" It's probably 50-50. If you get 10,000 people answering your question, 50% will say, "Yeah, he's hilarious." The other 50% say he sucks. So, yeah, Shuley, same thing. He's controversial. Kevin Brennan, same thing. I mean, me, same thing. I mean, I think people go in harder on roast comics, which I guess I am. Um, but I got to be honest with you, Ambrose, and I'm friends with Shuley. I'll be straight up with you. I think he's very funny. Like, he had the best set of the night at the Ric Flair roast. Like, I had a good set. Well, no, it was a tie between Shuley and Tyler Morrison. Like, they killed. Like, I had a very good set, but I almost felt like I bombed after Shuley and Tyler. I mean, they were just animals. So I've never like, but I'll say this: I've never seen Shuley do stand up. I've seen Tyler do stand up just because we trust each other so much. We're like, hey, is this funny? Um, so I think Kevin Brennan's great. I love that kind of bitter. I like genuine comedy, and one thing about Kevin is he's genuine. You might not like his act, you might not like him, how he goes after people, how they go after him, but he's funny's funny, man. So, um, and I'm sure people like I had someone message me the other day saying I was the best part of the Barry Ribs Pat Dixon roast. And then literally like 5 minutes later, I had someone say I sucked on it and said Barry Ribs won. Now the first guy saw the same roast as the second guy. I'm assuming they're both guys, let's be honest. So it's the same thing with Jimmy Carr. If you watch our battle, a lot of people don't think I won. And more than a few people think I killed him. So who's right? So comedy is really subjective, as most things are. You can who's the greatest guitar player of all time? That's a whole nother can of worms. If you ask anyone from the '70s, they'll all pretty much say Hendrix or Stevie Ray Vaughan. If you ask someone like me from the '80s, I mean, it's obviously Van Halen, Randy Rhoads, Jake E. Lee, and I mean, watch some of Jake E. Lee's videos with Ozzy from the Salt Lake City show '84. There's not a lot of people who can do what he does. And if you go into the '90s, the guy from the Foo Fighters, and it goes on and on and on. Well, I mean, he's not as known. I'm talking about Jake E. Lee, but and don't watch videos of him now where he looks a little rough, to be honest with you. I mean, he's lived a full life. But even when I saw his band Red Dragon Cartel at the Whiskey, he killed it. Like, he looked awful, but his playing still has the chops. And I played it's probably the most famous musician I know, but they are very young. They're in, I think, 33, 34 range. And we were hanging out one night. I said, "Let me play Bark at the Moon." She never heard it, and she loved it. She's like, "I really like what he did on the outro." So when this person says, "Jakey Lee, you like the outro?" She doesn't say anything about anyone. Yeah, I mean, John Mayer, um, is probably one of the top guitar players of right now. Kenny Wayne Shepherd, although he's a little older, um, it's. I mean, John Mayer can play. He can't do comedy very well. I'll be honest with you. See, I don't know who that is, beloved chatter. But I'm a George Lynch. In his prime, could give Jake E. Lee a run for their money, a run for his money. If you like fast playing, there's obviously Yngwie Malmsteen. Thank you, Rushmore. I'm just a comedy soldier, sick but still doing the job I said I would be doing. I like Buckethead. Now, a lot of people don't like Buckethead because of the fucking chicken bucket on his head, but if you listen to a Buckethead album, like, he's the real fucking deal. Steve Vai, yeah, Kim. I mean, there's no right answer for greatest guitar player of all time. You could go into sports, like I'm a hockey guy. 90%, and I don't argue with people just to start, a discussion. But 90% of people will say Wayne Gretzky is the greatest player of all time, and there's absolutely an argument for it. I mean, he set records. Ovechkin might get his goal scoring record, but it's going to be tough because he's starting to slow down a little bit. I mean, to show you how good Wayne Gretzky was in terms of the number of points he put up, if you took away all his goals, like he had 0 goals, he would still be the all-time leading scorer just on his assist. But I had this not an argument, but a debate with my friend. If you could start a hockey team and you have one player, he's like, "Oh, Gretzky, without a doubt." I said Mark Messier because I liked what Messier brought to the table more. He was a very good goal scorer. Hello, Staggy, um, but not quite as offensively talented as Gretzky. But he'll fucking cross-check you in the face and have back then no remorse. I mean, I don't know if today he would have been allowed to play like he did, but you know, I better get some Advil too. This is the one good thing about having my kitchen as a background. I take 4. Yeah, I mean, I knew a lot of people that knew that guy because he played on the Ontario Reign out here, which is the Kings farm team, not Ontario, Canada. It's like Orange County. Um, well, tough guys. I mean, Probert is probably the number one tough guy. I mean, he didn't have a lot of losses, even at the end of his career. He had a few more toward the end of his career, but a prime Probert who was coked up to the gills. Imagine fighting that. But like the Messier Gretzky comparison, I'd rather have Joey Kocur than Probert because Joey Kocur hurt people. Like Probert never really hurt anyone. Like he may have broken your nose, and that doesn't feel good. You'd think with the size of this beak, I know what a broken nose feels like, but I really don't. I've never broken my nose. I've broken my collarbone and my big toe. But Kosar, like, if he hit you, like, what did he? He broke Brad Dalgarno of the Islanders' orbital bone. He almost killed Jim Kite on the ice. He hit not Larry Playfair, but Jim Playfair, Larry's brother, so hard that he hit him in the mouth like here, and he had like 5 teeth embedded into his hand. So happy 8 candle. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really a practicing Jew, to be honest with you. I mean, my mom's last name was Weinman, so let me put live chat. So you guys teach me. But can someone? This is how I have no ego. What is the difference between live chat and top chat? They kind of look the same to me. Bugard was scary. I mean, 6'8", 260 naked. So you figure with, um, the gear on, the skates, he's probably 6'10", let's say 25 pounds of gear. I mean, that's a lot of gear. Chara on skates, probably close to 7 feet, to be honest with you. Um, oh, okay. I mean, it seems the same to me, Nick. Thank you. Well, McSorley was a good fighter, but he was kind of like Probert, where he was a scary guy, but he didn't really hurt anybody. Like Troy Crowder, even though Crowder had a very short run, he hurt people. Like that one fight he had with Jeff Chikrin, like he didn't break his nose, he broke his face, and he hurt Probert pretty bad. Although this is how wacky Probert was in the third Crowder Probert fight. So you had one opening night. I'll never forget. I forget who the Kings were playing, but I was walking around the forum. And the Probert Crowder fight was the talk of the arena. People were like, "Did you see what happened to Probert tonight?" Like it was, he had lost a fight before to Todd Ewan, but then he came back and beat him up in the same game. Um, and I don't know why they didn't fight again in that game, but it was opening night for the Devils and Red Wings. And Crowder got a little lucky because if you watch that fight, Probert kind of stepped on the stick and he lost his balance a little. And you know, obviously Crowder's not going to stop at that point because Probert wouldn't have stopped. Trust me on that one. Um, but you know, Crowder, he really jacked him up over the eye. So, and then the rematch in Detroit, Probert got him in the second fight, first fight in Detroit, and then the second fight of the same game, Crowder hit him with the perfect punch. If you watch the third fight, it's toward the end of the fight, and Crowder, it's perfect timing with his left hand, pulls him and then hits him with the right. Like you couldn't have hit someone with better technique and power. Probert didn't even move. And I think Crowder recently said in an interview, like, he was like, "That's when I bailed." I said, "If that hit didn't make him go down, I don't have anything else left." So, but he doesn't get talked about among the all-time fighters because his run was very short. He was on the Kings for a while. Um, that was in the dark days of the Kings when like they had no money. Like literally, I had a friend of mine who worked on the Kings. He's like, "Hey, they're going to sign Pat Verbeek for $1 million a year," which back then was a lot of money. And I knew when I saw Bruce McNall, the owner of the Kings, move into my building. Now, that's the Fay Ray building, for those of you familiar with the joke. That was not a good sign. I was like, oh, I mean, like, because, you know, I would say the units on average back in the late 80s, early 90s, probably like I think I paid $1,400 in rent, but I just checked on my old unit, which I believe is for sale or lease, and the lease is like $4,500. I mean, it's crazy how much. I think my first apartment, which was on 8569 Burton Way, so it's in between Beverly Hills and Hollywood, 1250. And I looked every now and then. I see what my old places I used to live at cost, and I think that one's like 3,500 now. So, but you know, Bruce McNall was living in mansions. Um, so, and another guy who was scary. They're just, yeah. Well, no, I haven't Staggy. I, you know, it's probably about 400 sweaters. Um, that you know, I need like a huge, just you know, there's collectors out there who just want to say they have the largest collection of anything. There's a lot of ego in the memorabilia world. So, yeah, Naked Faye Ray, I mean, she looked pretty good. But, like, she had probably lived there since they built the building. So, I'm sure Faye Ray, I mean, I was paying when I was on the 19th floor next to her, it was like 1,300, so I'm sure she was paying 600 because 'cause she'd been there so long. Or she might have owned the unit, I don't know. She's really nice. Really pretty too for a woman in the '80s, like, um and then when the earthquake happened, I moved down to the first floor, and then I just couldn't sleep at night because I thought, oh, because I thought, well, because you know we'd still have aftershocks months later, and the building, like I said, if you've heard the joke, was on rollers. So anytime there was an earthquake or an aftershock, it literally the building would go like this, which is great because it was it absorbed. I don't know what the percentage, probably 70% of the blow. So it really, but still, it was very unnerving. So I thought, well, I'll just move down to the first floor, and then I couldn't sleep at night because I thought, you know, there's 20 stories above me. If this building goes, I'm a pancake. So I moved. I moved after that. I think I moved to the building where the hairstylist Jose Eber, my buddy now. We had a rough start, to be honest with you, but we became homies and still talk. Look up Jose. It's spelled Jose Eber, Eber, iconic stylist from the '70s. Still has a salon in Beverly Hills. For 5 years, he didn't talk to me. Like we'd be in the elevator together. He'd just look at me. And then one day after I played hockey and I had my Yager hairstyle, the mullet, but my hair looked like shit, he just looks at me and goes, "Ew, your hair, it looks fucking awful." And then we became buddies. I remember one time I went into his unit to talk to his partner, his lover partner, and Jose took his hat off. Now he's bald under the hat, like Bret Michaels style. And then he left to go to the salon. And his partner was like, "Bro, he must really like you." I'm like, "What do you mean he didn't say anything to me?" He's like, "He doesn't take his hat off for anybody." So, hello, Ross. Pew, pew, pew. Yeah, yeah. That's you know who he is, beloved chatter. You get around, beloved chatter. I appreciate you coming in here late night. We will be starting Predator any moment now. We're just talking hockey and some of my previous living arrangements. I bet you do, beloved chatter. I got around in that building. There was a prostitute on the fifth floor that, let's just say she was into the five-finger discount. It was a wild building. I mean, number of proposes, OJ's girlfriend, the owner, the bankrupt owner of the King, some rich dude on the 14th floor who was literally up 24 hours. I don't know when this guy slept. Who else was there? A lot of cocaine in that building, prostitutes, uh, even the girl, the nighttime security girl, it's 24-hour security. Her brother, I think, was Derek Strong, who played on the Lakers. I'm like, what are you doing as a minimum wage security guard when your brother's like, you know, making a few bucks? I did watch AEW last night. I mean, everyone kept saying how bad AEW was last night. I gotta be honest with you, I kinda liked it. I thought the matches were good, and the end, of, the end of the broadcast made me really invested more in the devil character. Now, I don't know if they did this on purpose, and I hope it was planned, but if you go back and watch all the devil appearances, the first one with Jay White, very, um the body style of that group was slender. Like, I would say, like, Danhausen style physiques. And then the second one where they threw, Bowens into the glass, the guy who threw Bowens was a pretty big dude. And then last night, I really noticed the 2 guys who threw Hangman Page on the car, they were very big. Like, if you want a spoiler alert, I'm gonna give my step away for 2 minutes. For the next 2 minutes, I'm going to give you my theories who the devil is based on my keen observations from last night. So count down to 5. So if you go back last night, like I said, the 2 guys who threw Hangman on the cart were very big, Wardlow-esque. But I don't think you can have it be Wardlow. He's just been on TV too much. I don't think you can have it be Adam Cole or Britt Baker. It's not that big of a pop. I think we're setting up for a WWE invasion angle of all the guys who just got released. Because I know last night, the main guy, the guy who picked up Hangman first, he had a very, very similar body to Elias, which no one has said that I've seen. So, and the guy, the devil who got out of the car was definitely the biggest version of the devil that they've used. I think they're using different body types. And I'm sure that's because that, obviously they can't use the WWE guys. I think tomorrow all their 90-day compete stuff is done. So I think they're throwing off people with that. But I will say last night, the devil had a very similar build to Dolph Ziggler. So I think Leather Daddy, hello. I think if they do it right, this is who the group, the faction should be. Dolph Ziggler's the leader. You've got Elias, he can battle like Powerhouse Hobbs and Big Bill. You've got Riddle. He'd be a good person to have. A lot of people think Kyle O'Reilly is going to be one of them, and he was fairly popular in AEW, so he could be like another tag, maybe him and Riddle, and then the fourth one, could be Mustafa Ali. Uh, Hey, Chad's not in here right now. I don't think. This is not a dabble-free stream, but it's not exactly promoting the Dabbleverse. I like to talk about wrestling, and so I was talking with someone, I think Sean Odell, who I don't see in here. I'm not above criticism. He's like, I really liked your podcast when you were just talking about shit you liked, and you weren't trying to get famous guests and all that. And I think I'm going back to those roots. Um, but listen, big guests draw numbers. Like that's kind of why I stopped doing the podcast as much, because I just I didn't make $1 on the podcast, which I'm not in the business to make money, but it's just every now and then it'll be nice to get paid, which is why I'm relatively excited about super chats and stickers or whatever. I think this podcast tonight, the stream, might be the one to get me. I think I'm at like 2,900 hours right now. And the Michael Jackson joke I put on YouTube as a short, I guess. It's got like 3 or 4,000 views, so it's definitely one of my more popular shorts. Um, yeah, I mean, it could be Jack Perry, but I just don't think that moves the needle. Here's the problem with a lot of AEW storylines: they don't move the needle. They just don't. Um, like, here's how I would have done the end of Full Gear in LA. Obviously, a lot of people are in Full Gear watching. It's LA, so you got Dr. Ken in the front row, you had Steve-O. So there's some extra publicity that this pay-per-view is getting. I mean, if either one of those people um, tweet or Instagram story, it's more eyes on the product than AEW will have. So, I mean, I give the pay-per-view overall, if they did a cool devil reveal, I would say it's an A minus. But since they did not, I'll give it a B plus. So, have Jay White, he loses to MJF. He's kind of chasing MJF up the ramp, but he's hurt. MJF's limping, he's hurt, he's bleeding, his shoulder hurts. He turns around. Lights go out. The devil's standing behind him. No, no, no. I take that back. I take that back. Wardlow is standing behind him. Lights come back on. He power bombs MJF. Well, you think that's the end? That'd be a good ending. It's Wardlow the devil? I don't know. Lights go out again. Lights come back on. And the devil is standing over both MJF and Wardlow. Tell me. Because that extends it. Like, I guess it's not Wardlow. Or maybe it is. Maybe it's a sham or whatever. So that's how I would have done it. Well, I don't even think Punk moves the needle, to be honest with you. I mean, I watched his. I mean, the debut at SummerSlam was very good because I believe nobody knew, and that's just the difference between WWE and AEW. Everyone backstage would have known. I thought his Monday Night Raw speech was very weak. It just he got a nice pop, but it wasn't like, oh my god, he said this, like MJF's pipe bomb speech. And then, the SmackDown, he tried a little dig at AEW, but it was just too inside. Because I don't think a lot of the WWE crowd listens to AEW. So he's already kind of, falling flat. Now, him and Seth Rollins, that's a good match. I don't know if I would buy a pay-per-view just to watch that specifically, but, it's got my, interest level up. Um, see, I didn't like either one, to be honest with you. I mean, I'll give him points for using, doing the backstage. He said something about, I'm not in the company now where people throw sucker punches, but it was unclear. Is he talking about the locker room brawl with the Bucks and Omega? Was he talking about Jack Perry? Like, it was, you know, I don't know. It just left me a little limp, to be honest with you. Um, I mean, the big one. I mean, the big one. If AEW, and I don't think they could do this because I think the McMahon family is still, they're all in business together. But if Tony Khan just wants to overpay Shane McMahon and go, hey, will you be the devil for a month? Now, you probably think, why would I help the other company? Money talks. I mean, how people would talk, AEW would be trending on a WWE level if that happened. But I believe it's probably going to be Dolph Ziggler, maybe Riddle. I don't think Mustafa Ali's a big enough name. I know someone floated out. The devil could be David Finlay coming to take over the Bullet Club, which is a great story. But I don't think enough people, casual AEW fans, have any idea who David Finlay is. So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to assume they're going to come close to doing the reveal at the Long Island card in 2 weeks. I think it's on the 30th. But who knows? Um, it's but it's done. It's been done very well. But the problem is now you've gotten people's interest. Everyone's talking about who's the devil. And even on the pay-per-view when they do it, I'm assuming they'll do it on a pay-per-view or maybe a Dynamite. WWE will be watching. So there's a lot of stake on this storyline. It's kind of starting to remind me of when Sting and Hogan, um, in '97, their first match from the first promo to the match was 9 months. And even my mom, who didn't like wrestling, outside maybe Hogan, like she didn't know anyone outside of Hulk Hogan. Even she was like, "When are they gonna fucking wrestle?" And then the match sucked. Now different people have blamed different people. I've heard Sting say Hogan didn't want to do the job. Hogan said Sting, was prickly in how the finish should be. Bischoff more or less sided with Hogan. Said that Sting wasn't in the greatest shape. He showed up the day of the match and he was pale and like, so who knows? But this devil storyline is slowly starting to take on that build up where it's been a few months already. And if the pay big, it's a total fail. Adam Cole or Jack Perry, it's a fail. Although, wouldn't be worse, but I did like Jack Perry as a heel. But here's the shitty thing about that whole thing with Jack Perry and Punk is we all know Punk beat his ass because Punk's a tough guy. He doesn't look tough, but we all know that Punk, even though he wasn't a great MMA fighter, still a bad MMA fighter can beat the shit out of most people. Um, so it's kind of hard to um, picture Jack Perry as like this ass kicking maniac. I mean, I haven't heard this name thrown out there, and I know they were just in Ring of Honor, which AEW owns, but Rousey is the devil. I wouldn't be against that. But I lost my interest in her as a heel because in her last two MMA fights, she got killed. Like that Holly Holmes fight, she got fucking like Michael Spinks knocked out. And the next fight, Amanda Nunes, it really wasn't much better. So it's kind of hard to see her as this ass kicking female. Um, and a lot of people don't want to see a WWE invasion, but right now, unless you had like a Kurt Angle come in, he could be the commissioner or he could be the devil, and then he doesn't have to wrestle. Obviously, something like that could work. Uh, but all these guys want to stay in good with WWE, so I'm sure there's been backroom deals of you better not go over there because you saw how they treated Sting. Oh yeah, you get your video rights, you'll be great. Um, and then he got over there. Oh, you never wanted to wrestle for WWE? Well, fuck you. You're gonna job to Triple H, bitch. So I'm sure people want to stay in WWE's good graces. So we'll see. Well, I think Ronda's problem MMA style. I'm an MMA fan. I'm certainly, I have a torn ACL, so I'm never going to do jujitsu or shit because the rehab was so brutal. I'm never. I mean, I take yoga and that's risky, but I think her training was bad. She was so dominant, but the minute she faced someone who was physically just as strong as her, it's game over. I mean, Holly Holmes is like a world-class boxer and kickboxer, and I don't think Rousey had ever faced anyone like that. So, um, you know, and then with Amanda Nunes, I mean, she's like world-class boxing skills, and I don't think she is so strong that, Rousey was probably a technically better fighter than her. Like in terms of if you said to both and they were on a practice dummy, hey Rhonda, put that dummy on an arm bar. She could do 100% perfect technique. And I'm sure, you know, um, Nunes could probably do it, but not as efficient. But she's so strong and such a pit bull. And probably the same results would have happened with Cyborg. I mean, that's the fight really everyone wanted, but I don't. The problem with UFC at that time was I really do look like Roderick Strong. Was that they didn't have a lot of great opponents for her. They just gave her tomato cans. Um, so I don't think they wanted her to fight Cyborg because Rousey could have put her in an armbar and Cyborg would have like that. So same similar to Nunes. I mean, Nunes was just walking through her punches, and she didn't have very good boxing technique. So you take like legit boxers like Holmes and Nunes. You put someone who doesn't really know how to throw a punch in front of someone who not only knows how to throw a punch but take a punch, it's game over. So let me see. A sadist vodka. Don't get mad. I'm trying to steal people from Ray's chat. No, don't do that. I don't want to steal people from anyone's chat. Uh, Don Barris could, yeah. I mean, Don. Are you talking about Don Barris or Don Callis? Well, I think the problem with the UFC right now, and maybe we'll watch Predator tomorrow night because there's still about 45 minutes left. I didn't think we were going to get this much into wrestling and UFC, but you know, the Fertittas uh, were really brilliant businessmen to get out at the time they did because when they sold, you had Rousey at the top, and the Expendables. She's a kill. I love Don Fry. He put me in an armbar at Rob Schneider's wedding, and you could have offered me $1 million. I couldn't have gotten out of it. And he was pretty drunk too. I go, hey man, this is starting to fucking hurt, bro. It's like when Tate Fletcher, Rogan's old bodyguard, put me in some kind of armbar behind my back, and I think Tate was a little buzzed, and it's like, hey bro, this is starting to hurt. I was tapping my own arm. I was so out of it. Um, but and then obviously in the men's division, you had Velasquez, who was going to get the Hispanic market. Verdum was going to get the Brazilian. Verdum and Dos Santos were going to get the Brazilian market. Overeem looked like a black Incredible Hulk, and every single one of those guys started losing. And that's, I mean, I don't know if the Fertittas saw this come in and said, "Hey, these guys are going to and girls are going to start losing. We got to sell now." I mean, it's really selling at the all-time high. It's like tech stocks right before they burst. Because the problem, like with say Cyborg, even if they brought her over to the UFC, listen, she's got a great body, no doubt about that. Like an amazing body, but she's a little rough on the mic. I mean, I don't think she can speak English very well. So you can't have her in commercials and shit. Like, even if you wanted to put her in the Expendables, I mean, at least Rousey could look good in a dress and could speak. Same thing with Nunes. Although I think Nunes was in a Modelo commercial, she didn't really talk a lot. And then Velasquez, um, not the most personality in the world, so he was kind of rough to promote. Verdum, he did the funny face thing, which was funny, like, but then he got his ass knocked out fucking around against Miocic. And then McGregor started losing, and McGregor was great when he was winning. It's just like a white Muhammad Ali. But then when Nurmagomedov, how do you say his name? Khabib Nurmagomedov dominated him. I mean, you could tell Khabib wasn't even trying. It's the same thing with like Chael Sonnen. He was a great shit talker. Like did a rip off of Billy Graham wrestling promos, like I did with Rick Rude and Roast Battle. I'm honest. But then he started losing, and it's like, oh, like yeah, you can talk shit, but it's really not fun when you're losing. Then Overeem, who was it? Ngannou, like treated his head like a fucking Pez dispenser. Um, so yeah, that Fry Abbott fight, legendary, and Thomas Hernandez and Fry. Hernandez was literally a fucking cab driver. I think Fry's opponent bailed out, so they just found this guy walking around the arena, and it was like, "Hey, do you want MMA tonight? We'll give you $1,000." Yeah, sure. Um, Scott, yeah, I love Scott Ferozzo. He was the one who was like talking shit to Tank, or was that Cabbage? Cabbage Carrera. There was one fight where I've seen Tank Abbott in person. I saw him at a Alan Ed's Auto Sound, which is, I don't know if they're still around, but they it's like a car stereo and tinted windows place. And I don't think I've ever been in a room where someone is so fucking intimidating like him. Like I wanted to walk up to him and just go, "Hey man, I'm a big fan." And he looked at me, and you could tell he was like, "Don't talk to me. No problem." Yeah, I mean, whatever you guys can do to help me out, I'll take it. I do have a video. It's a short, so I don't know if you have to go in the short section of my Michael Jackson joke if you guys want to like that or whatever. They took it down off of TikTok, so, and I understand. I mean, I came pretty close to saying the whole F word, the piazza word, but like my buddy Bruce Gray, who's a brilliant comic, yeah, he probably, I'm not complaining, but he probably could have clipped it a little longer because you basically hear that word. Um, Tank, yeah, I mean, Tank was, he partied. I mean, Tank would literally go to bars in Huntington Beach and just want to fight. It's very similar to some of my hockey friends who would literally, like, after a game, I'd see in the Forum Club, which was kind of like a loose nightclub at the LA Forum. And like, you'd have these strong retards go up to like Rudy Pochek, Grant Myers, not Bugard because he wasn't in the league yet, but people like Bugard, Terry Raskowski, and like kind of like roast them, like almost into wanting to fight them. Like, bro, this isn't going to end well. You've got their whole team in that VIP room, and the 3 or 4 bouncers who are all big Samoan guys. You'll get your ass whooped. Oh, sorry about that. Raiders thrash Chargers 63-21. Jesus, take the over. Yeah, he doesn't look very well. I mean, those guys party, man. I've hung out with pro wrestlers and like, without naming them, to be honest with you, they're on another level of, like, and I'm like back in the late 80s and early 90s, I could hang. Not because I've never had a drug or drink in my life, but I could hang. You want to stay out all night, and then I got to be at the gym at 7 in the morning to open it up because I worked at the Sports Connection. which is the gym from the John Travolta movie Perfect. I literally take my gym, outfit, wardrobe, and I would just we'd go out to a nightclub, we'd party, girls or whatever, and then I would sleep in the parking lot, get like an hour or 2 sleep because it wasn't a very hard job. You literally just had to open the gym up and give people the racquetball code. The Saturday morning racquetball crew, they were just a bunch of dirty old rich men. Um, yeah, I mean, think about if you were trying to fuck around at Granny B's. You had the who was there? Mr. Perfect, Rick Rude, the Road Warriors, I think Axe from Demolition. Um, well, the problem with cocaine, bro, is I have a friend of mine, let's call him a loose acquaintance. It's better we say that. Um, and he broke it down because I knew 3 of the 4 comics, or 2 of the 3 comics who died. Was it a year ago? Because their cocaine was laced with fentanyl. Yeah, John Nord. I mean, he's a big fucking dude. Um, and he said, all cocaine obviously starts in Colombia. They chop it up at least 1 to 2 times there, and then it either goes to Florida, Texas, or Arizona, gets chopped up probably 1 to 3 times there, and then it comes to LA where it's probably chopped at least once, probably twice, and you don't know what it's being chopped up with. And obviously fentanyl is the big thing right now. So by the time the first batch is made in um, Colombia and it gets to your nostril in Los Angeles, who knows what it's been put in there. I mean, I was at a Christmas party, won't say for who. I don't want to blow up anyone's spot. A lot of good-looking people. There's a gym I go to. Just put it that way. So everyone's good looking. And like I don't pick up on women at the gym because at my age, I mean back in the day I would. Because back in the day at the Sports Connection, the manager was a real punani hound. So he would only hire good looking girls. I don't know how I got hired. I think he liked me. And he played hockey at like North Dakota. So we bonded over hockey. And so, the whole staff was fucking everyone. And I mean, it was like a race to fuck the new girl. Uh, Funniest time was I was working a Saturday morning shift, which it was pretty brutal to get up for if you went out. But I always took the cover booth where you literally would just take a membership card. It's not that big, but like it's like a credit card. Scan it. Have a nice workout, Bob. And then the new girl comes. No, who? My buddy comes in. He was a real punani hound. Like, hey, did you fuck the new girl? And the new girl walks in right behind him. Like clearly they had just spent the night together. Like it was out of control at the Sports Connection. If you want to get a good look into what that gym was like, it's a very true story of the late '80s, early '90s meat market scene. Look up the John Travolta, Jamie Lee Curtis movie, Perfect. It's a movie that's so bad it's good. Um, but a lot of fun times there, and I still talk to a few people. Um, but the other night, so I'm at a dinner party the other night where it's kind of like that vibe. I'm sure all the people are fucking, and I don't know about it because I'm like the only straight guy that goes to this gym. So all the teachers kind of have a crush on me. And it's not because I'm the oldest. I mean, I'm definitely probably the straightest guy there. I mean, there may be a couple straight guys, but not many. And so, yoga is a very sexual uh, environment. Like you're in a room, it's hot yoga. I mean, like tonight I was in yoga shorts, which are pretty tight. Um, and no shirt on. And, I look pretty good in the dark. It is dark in there, so I could suck it in a little bit. All the girls are in similar outfits, the sports bras, and short shorts or whatever. the teachers doing these positions that sexually would be like wackadoony doon if you could hang. Um, so it was a fun Christmas party or holiday party, whatever you want to call it. And then this guy, clearly probably the owner of the restaurant, just throws a gigantic bag of cocaine, looks at me and goes, "Sniff, sniff." And this might have been the worst looking presentation of cocaine I've ever seen. It looked like it had been stepped on with rocks. Like it was very clunky and like I'm like, nah, I'm good. I lied, so I gave it up for winter. Um, so yeah, I mean, you got to be careful. I mean, because one of my friends who died, Fu, very very funny comic. Like he was a great man, and it's really sad that he passed away. But I was talking to my sister today. I'm around so much death in comedy. It doesn't. When someone told me that Fu died, hey, Earl, Fu died, called me up. I literally cried for a few minutes. Not like bawling, because I didn't know him that well, but we would always hug each other. We had a great connection. And then I was like, okay, well, thank you. I gotta order Postmates now. Like, oh, immune or whatever you want to call it that I am. By the way, we will be watching Predator tomorrow night. For those of you who will be joining us, probably about 7 p.m. We are at the the hour and 9 minute mark. Oh yeah, I mean, 80s metal, like you know, I mean, I'm surprised more people didn't die doing it in that era because people weren't checking what was in that. I've been to parties where people would just start freebasing. Like high end entertainment attorneys would be with like Chris Holmes from Wasp and just like he'd pull out something in a bag, and like it could be anything. It could be meth, it could be speed. I mean, I've seen so much powder. Um, you know, I mean, thank God I didn't do it because I have a very addictive personality. Like I love these fucking things. So I'm glad I didn't get caught up into that world. I've lost a lot of friends, like a lot. Yeah, Steelers. I mean, might be a lost season for them, but they're in the wild card right now if the season ended today. So, I mean, clearly Matt can't. I mean, they're kind of fucked because when you fire your offensive coordinator, you can't put a new playbook in, with 6 weeks left in the season. It's just not doable. So I think that um they're a type of team though. They have a great defense and you got Fitzpatrick and TJ Watt, who are arguably the two best defensive players in the league. That they could sneak into the playoffs. They could do some damage because they have an offense, as bad as it is built for the road, like running game, and Trubisky's not a horrible quarterback. He just, Pickett and Canada just didn't click. It's like a songwriter and another songwriter. If you put Desmond Child in a recording studio, probably the most successful songwriter of the last 30 years, and you put him in there with Metallica, obviously very successful at writing their songs, I bet they wouldn't come up with one riff because he wants to write the gay power ballads, and Metallica's like, yeah, I don't think so. Get out, get out. Are you on the Tom Brady roast? Of course I'm not. Um, yeah, I mean, I would never do coke ever, unless I saw it being made in Colombia. Unless I was in Colombia, saw it being made, and I would put it up my ass or something, and then are you on that Tom Brady roast? What do you think? Shit, I couldn't even get on the Adam Egett roast. Do you think I can get on the Tom Brady roast? Uh, but yeah, do me a favor if you guys, I don't ask you guys for much. Uh, you guys don't owe me anything. And even with maybe after this stream, maybe by tomorrow night, I will be able to accept super chats. But I hear it's a process. But whenever I'm able to accept super chats and stickers, I'm never going to ask you guys. If you think I'm funny and you want to just be like, hey, I think you're funny. Here's $2, $5. I'm not going to not take it. But tweet at Netflix, it's a joke festival, and say, "Why isn't Earl Skakel on the Tom Brady roast?" And here's what you do to make sure they see it. You have to put period at, so it goes to the top of their feed, and tag Jeff in it too. I'm sure he'll enjoy those tweets. I blocked him, so I don't see anything he does. You know that's gotta hurt, the fact that I blocked him. I beat him to the punch. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Gutfeld would hurt me or help me that much, to be honest with you. Just because I know a lot of friends who've done it. They're getting the same gigs after that they would be before. Well, I'm not ordering you guys. And don't overdo it. Don't act like I told you to do it. Like I had one guy, I think for Roast Battle Season 3, and he meant well. He's like, Earl Skakel is the greatest comic of all time. He needs to be on the show. I'm not the greatest comic of all time. Let's be real. But that's how shit happens, man. One famous person sees that tweet. I'm on the Tom Brady roast. Now, I won't be on the Tom Brady roast because Jeff would never, ever risk what I would say. And yes, I would say. Um, yeah, but Peyton Manning was very good on the roast. I think you going to be like, bro, best looking guy in the room. Everyone wants to fuck you. Probably the time. What was it, 6 or 7 Super Bowls? What can we say to you that's going to hurt your feelings? And so if he has a sense of humor, I think it's going to be funny. But I've been on these roasts, like when I wrote for Dr. Ken on the Baldwin roast, it was horrible because they were like censoring us, and I wasn't even getting fucking paid. But I helped Dr. Ken because I like Dr. Ken. But I had one night the producer Joel Gallen calling me, and that's another guy who fucked me on a certain show and historical roast. But I know you guys are sick of me talking about it, so I won't. He's like, "Yeah, we're not really happy with what you're writing for Dr. Ken." And I'm like, "Well, fucking pay me then, bro." Like, I'm working 3 to 4 hours a day writing him probably 300 jokes I wrote for him. Now, Dr. Ken was always appreciative, but like, what? You think this phone call is gonna help me? And then I didn't want to go to the roast, like, because I knew those roasts are like 5, 6 hour tapings. Because I won't say who, but there were 2 comics who kept bombing on their lines, so they would have him do it over again, and so that took a while. And, they were like, "Well, you have to help Dr. Ken, you're his coach." I'm like, "Well, am I getting paid?" "Oh, that's up to Dr. Ken." "Well, how about it's up to you guys because it's your network?" Or at least go, "You can be on the dais in the next roast." Because I guarantee you I would be the new Geraldo. Trust me on that one. Because I have no fear. But, you just can't be mean. You have to be funny. And trust me, I would be funny. I mean, I would go on Guffel, but I don't know if it helps you that much, to be honest with you. I mean, I would love to be on Joe Rogan, but you can't ask Joe. Like that's the number one thing. He doesn't like to be asked. Out, hey, when you nickel on, maybe he sees it, maybe he doesn't, maybe his producer sees it. You got to do that, and then at Joe Rogan. Who knows? I mean, he did ask me once, and I told the story 1,000 times. He said, "Call me tomorrow," and I thought, I'm not gonna call him tomorrow. I'm gonna call him in 2 days. Give him 1 day off of not um, asking for something. I mean, can you imagine his email inbox and DMs and tweets? Joe, I'll be in Austin. Can I do the club or do the podcast? It's like Adam didn't book you in Los Angeles. Why the hell would he book you in Austin, brother? Um, I would write. My friend knows Stokely Hathaway, Tracy Carnazzo. So I would love. Um, but Rogan would dig it. Like I know it would be a great interview because I'd be in such a good mood. Um, and I don't think being on Rogan makes you famous anymore. By the way, I'm still not buying Nikita Koloff's Russian. What the fuck? But we'd have fantastic conversation, like my cousin, my family background, wrestling, and, first roast battle on TV. Not that we're gonna talk about a roast from, fucking 7 years ago, but and he'd get into it. "Well, why don't you like Jeff?" And then, we I gotta kinda watch what I say because 'cause I'm let's just say people watch. So if it I guarantee you if it was Earl Skate on Rogan tomorrow, Jeff would be watching. Certain other people would be watching. And I just work too fucking hard to, like, be banned at the Comedy Store. Uh, I might go to Revolution. I really, I'm gonna wait and see who his opponent is. I'm not gonna if it's like, someone brought up a interesting, like, you can't have him do a singles match. You just can't. You have him and Darby Allin against Big Bill and Ricky Starks, and because 'cause I'm friends with Bill, uh, I would I'd really like to see that because 'cause I'm very proud of Bill. I mean, I don't I'm never funny on Kill Tony because I don't find it challenging enough, because most of the people bomb. There's a few funny ones, but for the most part, they bomb, and, like, I'm not gonna roast an open micer who's not capable of firing back at me. What fun is that? Um, uh, yeah, I mean, I'd be cool with a doubles, a tag match, and maybe you have Flair as the manager, and you just make it a free for all. You have Arn Anderson, wheel out Luger, and Luger. I don't know what the titling would be. I guess you could look up my name. When Alan McCoskey was on, and we're in the main room, and I'm dressed as Sting, and I'm with Sam Roberts and Norton. And I get along with those guys. And, so Allie's telling this story about two comics who took her to Tijuana. Now this is pre-allegations of anybody. So I'm like, "Oh, is it Dalia and